So I probably won't even cast this really as a full-on review or anything, but I played through and 100%ed Gato Roboto. So one thing I do want to do is play through all the Metroidvanias that are on Xbox Game Pass for PC. And there's quite a lot actually, which is very good because I love Metroidvanias. Have either of you played this game?
No.
No, I, me-
What's it about?
I remember when it was announced and it looked cool.
Yeah. So, like, I guess I'll break it down in a few ways. So, like, one thing for me is with any Metroidvania, does it have that, like, because there's a lot of games now that are called Metroidvanias, which I would argue, although they do have the elements of being a Metroidvania, don't have the feel to me of being a Metroidvania. And when I say that, one big component for it to me is, it gives you that sense of you growing in power and everything that you're sort of adding in to your arsenal becomes integral for your movement, how you move around the world, how you fight, like giving you that sense of like, I'm getting more and more powerful and then unlocking more and more of the map, which is to me why, because you could mount the argument that, and I think we've spoken about this before, Swinny, that the classic Zelda games are like by definition Metroidvanias. You go through, you can sequence break, which I think is another important component of Metroidvanias. You add on new items.
Required.
What was that? Sorry.
Sequence breaking it's not required, but like it's important, but I don't think it's required.
It's not required, but I think like as a real deep lover of the genre, I think it's a very strong homage, and any studio that's making a Metroidvania, I think, is remiss if they don't put like a sequence breaking kind of component into it. And Gato Roboto has that in it as well. It has, I think, even in its achievements. So like from the Metroidvania feel, everything like that, this game is very much a Metroidvania. All the way through. I could list so many examples of whether it be the music, the art, the style, where they're referencing all the classics, the Symphony of the Nights, the Super Metroid, Metroids, like directly, and then also not a Metroidvania, but Mega Man as well. There's a lot of things in this that, it's very obvious. It's a huge homage to Mega Man, like the boss fights as well. So from that, huge tick from me in terms of being like a really core Metroidvania. Presentation, like I think this is going to be the strongest suit for this game. This game, it looked amazing prior to playing it. I always really wanted to play it when it got announced on the Switch. And, it really does come through very strongly, like a very, very strong visual identity. And all the way through the game, like fantastic animation, characterization, just looks really cool and cute.
Is it monochrome?
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's crazy to me that it genuinely is a 1-bit game. Like, nice. It is only black and white.
Kind of like Minute was similar with that as well.
Yeah, well, there's a few more games coming out like in this style of like true 1-bit style games. I do want to find an excuse to talk about this as I'm a huge handheld fan, but the Playdate, so that's a handheld coming out from Panic. All of the games on that are going to be 1-bit as well. So it's having a bit of a renaissance, the sort of 1-bit style games. And I guess when you think about it, like it has to bring down the cost of developing, and there's not that many people that actually worked on this game from doinksoft. So
it brings down the cost, but it brings its own challenges with making sure everything is like visually identifiable by the player in that two color scheme,
Yeah, and just on that, like from a graphics perspective, I find that this game, because of your exact point there, the challenge of making things visually striking and easily identifiable, which I never struggled with in this game, but I did feel that I was more sort of zoomed in than I'm used to in modern Metroidvanias, where they've taken the character out a little bit and given you more space. Like, very different graphically, obviously, but Ori kind of has a very zoomed out perspective, which to me I actually quite like, just because then you can sort of see the puzzle and the platforming in front of you. Whereas this, it felt a little bit not quite claustrophobic, but it was getting to that point where I think they had to really kind of zoom in a little bit just so that it could really make it obvious what they're trying to represent on the screen, given that they've only got black and white to play with. The sound and music in this game is just spot on, like perfect. So from a graphic perspective, from the look and feel, everything. But ultimately, like my final view of the whole game, like I didn't really love this game at all. Like I think like, it's one of those games to me, it sort of executes everything it's trying to do. It just to me maybe it just didn't click with me, to be honest. Like I feel like some people, I could imagine people saying they love this game. Like that wouldn't shock me at all. But just to me, it just sort of like never really clicked fully, and I never fell in love with the game. And I was like really deep in the game and going, oh, I'm not gonna love this game. Like it's pretty obvious.
Oh,
And I did
damn.
100% it, and it does have its own charm, but something about it, it just doesn't. You know, it's going to be too harsh to say this, but my feeling for it was just it didn't have an edge to it that really made it compelling to me. It felt almost formulaic in its eccentricities and how it's been put together. Like the very obvious homages, the nods to other series, the dialogue, everything. It just, I don't know, it just felt a little bit formulaic to me in its oddness, not
I
being
had the same problem
straightforward.
with Axiom Verge, if you've played that.
So yeah, like, I would certainly rank this below Ori, and I'm going to start ranking all of the, on our scale, all the Metroidvanias that I play through, and then, obviously you guys can add to that as well. But having said that, it is a good game, and it is a short game as well. It's only like literally like 3 or 4 hours to 100% it. So, given that it's on Game Pass, highly recommend for people to just try it out if they're into Metroidvanias, because this game very much, if you play even 15 minutes, I think the week prior I'd played like 45 minutes of it, you really get the sense of the game straight away. So if you're not enjoying it at the start, it's never really going to change. Like you kind of know it within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the gameplay loop.
So
So
I've got a very specific Swinny question.
yeah.
So you're playing on Xbox Game Pass PC, correct?
Yes, correct.
Which, yeah, it's definitely on Xbox Game Pass PC and also console Game Pass. You mentioned an achievement. Did you actually unlock an achievement, or did you just know that there's achievements?
No, so because when I checked my profile, I was like, hey, I got no achievements for this game.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I like to, with Ori, just go like after I've finished the game, because personally, we're very different. Personally, I find achievements to be very intrusive to the game, so I turn them off on console.
Same.
But I do like to check it after. Like if I've beaten the game, or like, Ori 100%ed it, then I look, hey, is there something fun that I could do? Or is there something interesting, and how many people have done it, all that kind of stuff. Like I love that side of it to add to the game. So I went to do that with Gato Roboto, given that I, got through it 100%. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wait a second, there's nothing. Like I got no achievements on my profile. So
just because
I looked at it online.
Yeah, just because you mentioned it, it did the flag for me, because I knew that this game didn't have a PC Game Pass achievement list.
Oh, you already knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, but I wanted to make sure that the information that I'm looking at was actually correct, and it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So, but it's cool. Like, we talk about. I've talked about achievement a lot in this. It's a true Metroidvania in that they've got one for finishing the game without collecting a single health upgrade.
Yeah.
Finishing the game under an hour. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, maybe I'm being too harsh, but like ultimately, reviews to me are always subjective. For me personally, this game didn't click with me, and like it really should be up my alley. Like I love the graphical presentation. I don't think that was poor. Like I think the sound and music was awesome. It's just something about the game. It just didn't have like a heart to me that clicked. And like I said, I could imagine someone else play this game and be a Metroidvania fan like me and just go, oh, this is one of my favorite Metroidvanias. I genuinely could see that as well. Because again, it does strike back to the shorter length Metroidvanias, where I feel like that's the biggest problem I'm having with the genre, that some of the games are just going on too long. And I don't think they ever should go for too long, Metroidvanias. Like I feel personally like they should be a 5 to 8 hour experience, like the first playthrough at most. So yeah, but having said all of this, check it out. Like it is a very cheap game, and I think for the value and the cost, it does do, like it's not a $60 game, right? It's even on sale, you can pick it up for a few bucks. I think it's well worth that, because it is a short experience. So it'd be interesting to see if you guys play it in the future and what you think of it.
Probably a good candidate if they put that on. I don't know. Don't think it is at the moment, but on. Oh no, actually, it is on xCloud. So on, not in the Australian xCloud yet, but that'd be cool. Like, because that's just a quick thing you can play if you wanted to try it xCloud.
I feel like you're trying to have a go at me because I still haven't been invited to xCloud.
That's got nothing to do with it. I was just thinking of, I don't know how if that game's difficult or not, or if that would be fine if they put a touchscreen interface for it, or if it would be tricky because of the nature of it. So I'm not trying to remind you that have yet to be invited to xCloud Australia Preview.
It's not very twitchy, the game, so it's not a Hollow Knight or something like that. So I definitely think you could play this on xCloud. Another thing that triggered me about xCloud, I heard on a podcast, this guy was like, "Oh yeah, I should try that." So I signed up to it, and then I got a invite like instantly. I'm like, "What?
Oh yeah, I should try that too."
Maybe
I was like
maybe
so triggered.
What do I do it again? Let me try it.
Your old Xbox account.
See this.
I don't want to.
Well,
but you're right. I probably
you
would
have
get.
to pay for Game Pass for it anyway, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh god. Yeah. So I mean, that's my Gato Roboto review. Good game. It's certainly below Ori and.
Mike signs up right now, and by the end of the podcast, he's been accepted.
Oh, he would. He would. Like, it sounds like if you are qualified, you'll get in.
Can you please sign up?
Sign
It's
in.
gonna be
I'm doing it right now. I'm just signing in.
All right. Well, like that's the review. I'm triggered now by the xCloud stuff. And let's get into our final segment for the show.